It was mid-spring in 2012, a night that had grown cold and damp after days of rain. I was 19 years old, lying in my room. The soft glow of my phone the only light as I watched videos to pass the time. Suddenly, the door flew open, and my little brother and his friends came bursting in. Their excitement almost contagious. They were wide-eyed, talking over one another, and finally managed to get the words out. They wanted me to take them to a cemetery and a place called Una Lake. The hour was late, the world outside pitch black. I laughed at the thought but saw the seriousness in their faces. The clock read 10 p.m., and everything in me told me to say no. A cemetery, a lake, at this hour? I asked, not sure if they were joking, but they insisted it was for a school project, an extra credit assignment they were desperate to finish before the school year ended. My brother pleaded, reminding me of how important this was, and, reluctantly, as the caring older brother, I agreed, feeling a mix of excitement and an odd sense of dread as we prepared to leave. There were 6 of us packed into my parents' old truck, laughter and chatter filling the air as we squeezed in, ready for this strange adventure. The road stretched dark and empty ahead of us, the only sound the hum of the engine and the occasional rustle of the wind. Shadows danced on either side of the road as we drove, and an unsettling quiet settled over us as we got closer to our first destination, the Palmdale Pioneer Cemetery. When we arrived at the Palmdale Pioneer Cemetery, an eerie silence greeted us. This place was ancient, abandoned, each gravestone a marker of someone's life from centuries past. We wandered through the rows, passing tombstones from the 1800s, each covered in moss and cracked with age. The air felt thick, like we were intruding on something private, something sacred. I couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were watching us from the darkness. As we explored, strange orbs began to appear, small, faint lights floating near the graves. One orb was brighter than the others, hovering over a tombstone before slowly fading away into the night. We stood still, barely breathing, feeling an electric chill run through the air. It was as if the cemetery was coming to life around us, the past brushing against the present in a silent, unsettling greeting. Unnerved, we decided to move on to the lake. After a short drive, we found it a vast, silent body of water surrounded by fencing and overgrown plants. A lone private property sign in the darkness. My brother and his friends were undeterred, insisting we go in. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We found an opening in the fence and slipped through, feeling the weight of the darkness pressing down as we moved towards the lake. The lake stretched out in front of us, the water dark and still, its surface reflecting only the blackness of the night. There was a heavy feeling in the air, as though something unseen was watching our every move. The silence was thick, almost oppressive, as we stood there, sensing that we were trespassing not only on property, but on something otherworldly. Just as the silence grew too heavy to bear, a voice pierced the night, a faint, childlike voice, soft and distant, echoing across the water. "Leave," it whispered, the single word carrying a chill that cut through us. We laughed nervously, thinking it was a prank from one of the girls, but the voice came again, closer this time, almost pleading. "Leave now, he is coming." The fear in that voice was unmistakable. We froze, glancing at each other, our laughter gone. Without a word, we turned to leave, moving slowly at first, but as the voice urged us to run, our pace quickened. One of the girls, Jessica, stumbled and fell. I grabbed her hand, pulling her up as we scrambled toward the truck. We could feel a presence behind us, something closing in, urging us to flee faster than we ever had before. Just before reaching the truck, I made the mistake of looking back. There, just beyond the fence, 3 shadowy figures floated, their forms dark and featureless, their hollow eyes fixed on us. They had no legs, drifting above the ground like specters from another world. I fumbled for the keys, my hands shaking, and in seconds, we were speeding away, leaving the lake and those figures far behind. Back at home, I couldn't sleep. The images from that night burned into my mind, driven by curiosity and a lingering sense of dread. I searched for the history of Una Lake. What I found sent a chill through me. Stories of a little girl who appeared at the lake, a man with a hook, and other dark apparitions haunting its shores. Many had vanished there, claimed by the water, their bodies never recovered. Since that night, I've never returned to Una Lake. Just driving past it stirs something cold and dark within me, a reminder that we weren't welcome there, that we had crossed into a place that didn't belong to us. And though the lake lies silent now, I can still feel its pull, as if something waits in the shadows, watching, waiting for the next visitor.